They met on a golden evening, with conversations and laughter softly echoing across the large garden of the Carter mansion. In that moment, from their first glance that lasted as he approached her, something unnameable passed between them. Neither dared to give it form, for duty and decorum pressed in from all sides. She, radiant and reserved, wore a beautiful, sparkling engagement ring, but he believed it was no more than her, and it made a promise not to him but to his brother. And he, careful and composed, masked the turmoil that threatened to spill over whenever she entered a room. Their hearts beat in a dangerous rhythm, tangled between loyalty and longing, as the shadow of the upcoming wedding grew ever longer. Sit back and listen to the story of Jack Carter and Melinda Stanton. But before you do, please subscribe to this channel and leave a book emoji in the comments. Let's begin.
A small frown creasing my brow, I slowly closed the gap between us. Heat surged throughout my body, and I couldn't decipher if it radiated from or to this man, but it was easy to see that he felt it, too. I believed we'd scald one another without a single touch. I needed to find out if that was anywhere near the truth. Inches from him, I stared at the wonder that was before me, but Jack's expression was close to unnerving me. His eyes were tense, but full of something I couldn't recognize. The need of him was palpable. I felt he and I could please one another for hours, yet whatever time we shared naked would never be enough. He searched my face as I moved, making me jittery, in a very good way. I inwardly inhaled at the unfamiliar ache. A loud groan escaped Jack, his arms wrapped around me, and he pulled me flush to his hard, fiery body. His head lowered so slowly that I began to shake in anticipation. I licked my suddenly dry lips just 1 second before his touched mine. I sighed, and his tongue swept over mine. My arms wrapped around his neck, urging him impossibly closer. I wanted and needed him pressed tighter to my aching body. "I want you, Melinda." "So much," he passionately declared, his mouth still tasting mine. "I want you, too, Jack, and have since I met you," was my heated, honest reply. My tongue teased his with vigor. My impatient hands slid down his chest, and, not caring where we were, I shakily began to unbutton his shirt. I wanted and needed to caress his bare skin. Now. One button released, Jack's head lifted sharply, his hands tightened on my wrists, and stilled my movements. "No," was all he said, breathlessly. "No," I questioned, panting with him. "I thought you said you wanted me, Jack." Still staring into my eyes, he lowered my hands until they were at my sides. Jack released me and moved back 5 paces. The more space he claimed, the more confused and wounded I felt. "More than you'll ever know." "Then why did you stop me?" I asked, my voice filled with passion and disappointment. "We can go to another room if you don't care for this one." His head shook, and his tone sounded hollow and pained when he answered, "You know why that's not possible, Melinda, in any room." Unshed tears burned and tightened my throat. Yes, I knew why he shouldn't touch me. I made it impossible for him to do so, but it wasn't just me alone. Unable to look at him anymore, I turned and moved to lean against a room-sized window. It was wide open on this sunny July afternoon. I stared out over the garden and inhaled deeply at the wonderful scents flowing outside. "If I weren't, but you are, and that won't change," Jack snapped. "We both know better. That will never happen again, no matter how much we desire it to and ache to go even further, Melinda." Jack moved to stand behind me. His shallow breaths hit the back of my head. I shivered as if it were suddenly 10 degrees in this hot room. I turned, gazing up at him, my expression pleading. I whispered, "Why?" Silently, Jack removed my ponytail. He ran a hand through my long brown hair, then rested that hand on my cheek. Closing my eyes, I leaned into his touch. "That's better. Don't ever wear your hair restrained." I watched him, pleading, "Why won't it happen again, Jack?" He paused, as if pondering what to say next. I searched his eyes, begging for an answer. He appeared to be lost, and mostly forlorn. I sympathized. Jack released my cheek, and it stung as if he had slapped me as soon as he removed his hand. Because wrong is too soft of a word to describe this, to label what we want us to do or be. I let out a soft sob and allowed my hands to rest on his hips. "Please, Jack." He started to back away, again, but my arms tightened on his waist, pleading with him not to move. "Don't," he demanded roughly. "I need to resist you, Melinda. I can't think when you're near me. Just once, Jack, before we have to say goodbye. You think being with you once is going to kill." Glaring, he removed my arms and snapped, "I have to get the hell away from you, Melinda, and this house. I will not make love with you, and then watch you pledge your life and love to my younger brother." He stormed out, instantly making it feel gloomy and dreadful in the bright yellow room. I backed into the window seat and dropped down on it. Bringing my knees up to my chest, I wrapped my arms around my legs and sobbed, long, loud, and hard. Let me explain my life to this point. After my first foray into marriage, I vowed never to try it again. My heart shattered when I found my husband was having an affair with a cousin, and they were plotting to destroy me, fiber by fiber. The plan was that Ben would marry me, I'd catch him cheating, and we'd settle the divorce quickly with an obscenely large sum of money. According to documents from his lawyer, Ben wanted half of Daddy's worth. They didn't take into account how smart my lawyer would be and how the prenup Daddy had us sign would not be enough for her. With proof of the scandalous plan, Ms. Juarez got that marriage annulled. God knows her fee was worth every damn penny. Trudy Whitman and Benjamin Kramer had been together for years, and marrying me was an idea of hers to get my money. Her part of the family wasn't rich, because they sold off their shares to my father for pennies on the dollar when the company they started appeared to be ready to plummet. Daddy had the smarts to get a lawyer and make sure they couldn't come back later and cry foul once he turned it around. Being as generous as he is, Daddy often helped his cousins and their families, even giving most of them jobs or money to start businesses of their own. But to Trudy, nothing was enough. She wanted money like my father, and all he gifted me. I should have known something was off at my wedding when Trudy behaved in a manner that screamed jealousy throughout the entire day, including while we were all being primped for my special day. I stupidly asked her to be a bridesmaid, and I showered all 5 with lavish and expensive gifts every day before the ceremony. Still, none of it was good enough for that woman. Ben's family had even less money than Trudy's, and the greed that shone in his father's eyes when he met Daddy was probably why my dad took the steps he did before the wedding rehearsal. Ben came crawling back, of course, and I knew he would because I took very good care of my husband. I kept him well-groomed, his wallet fat, and bought him expensive toys. That Ferrari made my father's blood boil, but I didn't explain myself or that purchase. As my husband, I felt he deserved the things I gifted him, but my accountant was smart enough to place that car in my name. After I caught Ben with a woman who was not my cousin, I donated everything of value I bought him to charity. Except that car. I gave that to my butler, right in Ben's face. I can't describe what a thrill that was, nor which gave me the most joy. That act or the look on my ex's face when I dropped that key in Middleton's hand and declared it was his Tuesday bonus. Middleton immediately requested a week off, and I agreed. I went to my father's home and let him spoil me, and we had a good laugh when I explained the events that led me to a sort of Valkyrie at his home. My father laughingly sent Middleton a monumental cash gift, and I gave him an extra week off after Daddy declared he and I were taking a trip to Mexico to unwind after the events. Due to my vow of never marrying again, I thought long and hard before I accepted Stephen's proposal. It would be an idyllic marriage from the outside, with him promising much PDA. He would appear to be a loving, caring, and happy husband. I'd never have to worry about him straying because I knew he would stray from the beginning. He'd have no choice but to go elsewhere because he was gay and afraid to tell that truth to his strict, political family. 3 months before my second wedding, I sighed as my fiancé practically bounced into my living room. The grin he sported had me thinking, here we go again. I wanted to rescind his all-access pass to my property whenever he had that expression. I stared out of one of the room's windows and asked myself again why I ever agreed to marry Stephen Asher Carter. I thought back to the day my best friend proposed to me. Stephen's argument was clear and very concise. It would make both families happy, he reasoned, and take the pressure off our backs to marry and reproduce. It was hard to find fault with anything he said. After I discussed my conditions with Stephen, and he agreed, I accepted his proposal. 2 days later, Stephen bought a ring. We then informed our families, who were, of course, delighted with the news. Next, the planning began. I allowed his mother to do most of it after telling her my color choices, and 3 months before the wedding date, I watched as my fiancé entered my study. He kissed my cheek and smiled as he sat on the edge of my oak desk. "Melinda, I just spoke with the Spank Bank, anonymously, of course." "You mean sperm bank, don't you?" I mumbled, shaking my head. "Whatever, doll. I still have to whack off, since we both want kids." I nodded. "Definitely. My entire life, I dreamed of being a mother. Being married to him was going to strip me of all that was considered good in a relationship, and if Stephen took that dream away, our whole marriage deal would be off, and I would not look back. He had to give me kids, in some way. So, after a year of marriage, we publicly cry infertility and go to the Spank Bank where some touchy-feely doctor knocks you up, doll." I smirked. "How romantic. Will we bring flowers and chocolates with us? Perhaps dinner first?" "Melinda," he whined, making my blood boil. "Are you having second thoughts again? Convincing you this is the right thing to do is becoming a full-time job. I see no other way to solve our parental wants. What's bothering you this time?" "I have to conceive my children without any physical benefits, Stephen, so maybe it's the lifetime of intimacy with battery-operated boyfriends. Only that's eating away at me," I muttered, looking over the guest list for our wedding. "Excuse me for wanting skin-to-skin contact at some point. I'm sure if you had to give it up, you'd miss it, too, and grouse as much as I, if not more. No one ever thinks their last time is the last, and try to remember it's been 2 years since a man intimately touched me." Sighing, Stephen plopped down in a chair in front of me and leaned forward on his elbows. "I said I would try, Melinda, and I will before the year is up. I owe you that, at least." He said my name, but he made that promise to the floor.
"Don't, Stephen."
"I'd rather go without than have a reluctant partner, husband or not." Panic filled his hazel green eyes. "You cannot have affairs, Melinda. Discovery would ruin me and my family. And what would your father say if he found out?" "Oh, God. I can just see my own father's face and hear his ridiculing voice now. I've promised I won't go hunting outside our marriage, Stephen, and I meant it."
"Geez, get a grip."
"Look, I like sex just as much as the next girl, but the thought of even trying it with a gay man is completely out of my thought process. Relax, I'll never come to you for it. Just keep me stocked with batteries and good toys, and I should be fine. We will be fine." Utter relief flourished on his face. "Why some hetero hasn't snapped you up, I'll never understand." I smiled. "Guess that makes you lucky, huh?" My glee faded. "By the way, Jonathan called me again last night. I thought we talked about him and that abnormal paranoia he carries when it comes to you and me." Stephen's handsome features frowned. What did he have to nag about this time? "The honeymoon. He insisted on knowing our destination, since you refused to tell him." "I didn't, doll. I just didn't answer him by changing the subject." He sighed, shaking his head. "But I'll talk to him. Again. That guy is another full-time gig. One of which you've decided to have for life." I giggled. "I'd appreciate it if you had that chat soon. Somewhere in that exchange, remind Johnny that I have an innie, not an outie." Stephen laughed loudly. "What are you, 6? "No, I'm pissed that your boyfriend thinks I'm competition."
Do something about him." "Fine, fine."
"I will, and soon." Stephen walked over to me and kissed my cheek. "Now for my by the way, doll. Mother's throwing one of her dose. It's in July, and she will not take no for an answer. She's also insisting we stay with her for a month before our nuptials, so she can openly flout our relationship to every visitor/guest. Our wedding is in July, too, and at her home. When exactly is she throwing this do? A week before the event. I glared at him. It's not a do, is it? It's yet another party for us.
Not at all, doll.
It's more like a look, everyone. My baby boy is getting married, and I'm throwing it all in your faces that she has a shitload of money, so I know she does not need to come after ours while I introduce her to every member of the family and brag that she's beautiful, smart, and funny. Party. Why would she want to throw your marriage in everyone's faces? He shoved his hands into his pockets. Jack and I are the only two of this generation of Carters still unmarried. It's been stressing our parents and causing them private ridicule that no woman has snatched us up. The elusive John Edward Carter, too, who is called Jack. I had met every member of Stephen's family, except his only older sibling. I fisted my cheek and smiled. Do I hear regret in your voice, Stephen? You shouldn't be ashamed of who you are, you know. I'm not ashamed. If I were a member of any other family than the high society Carters, I would be out and proud. I'm not one of the flouncy types of gay men, doll, but I usually like that type of man. Jonathan is different. He's more like me in public. Yet, he's a man, and my family would never accept us. His family meant the world to him, and he would be devastated to lose any of them, no matter how it happened. Our marriage was truly the only way he could hold on to them and make himself and them happy. 1 week before the wedding, Stephen's mother and I walked around her garden, meeting and greeting the guests for an hour before she grabbed my hand and practically dragged me to an aging redhead who glowed and fought to keep her youth. She was dressed in a beige silk suit with matching kitten heels and sipped from a highball, which I guess contained scotch and soda with mint leaves. Eleanor, darling, have you met my future daughter-in-law? Melinda, honey, meet Eleanor Benton Kennedy, no relation, no matter what she says. Eleanor, this is Melinda Stanton, Howard Stanton's only daughter. I ignored the way she once again stressed my father's name and extended my hand to the beautiful but rigid-looking woman. How are you, Mrs. Kennedy? Physically, I'm just fine, hon, she sourly answered, limply shaking my hand. But ask me again in an hour, after I've started to digest those rancid imitation crab puffs. I blinked and turned to Stephen's mother, Grace, who sighed heavily and rolled her green eyes. Imitation, my ass. Only the best for my Stephen and his bride. Eleanor, complain all you want, darling, but I've seen you make several trips to the buffet already. You won't have any room for dinner or be able to fit into that size 16 dress you bought for the wedding next weekend if you keep that up. Size 16? Eleanor shrieked. I think you were looking in your own closet, dear. And I've had to eat something. You've been holding up that dry roast for an hour now. Why on earth are you making us wait? I'll have you know I'm serving lobster Newburg and braised short ribs, neither of which will be dry. And we're waiting for my oldest to join us. I'm sure he'll be along soon. Wanting to make my excuses and get as far away from this fight as I could, quickly changed when an advancing male figure caught my attention. My gaze remained fixated, and this green-eyed man was glaring right back. My breath caught while trying to recall meeting him, and in what way. I could not remember ever setting eyes on this perfect male before this moment. He slowly made his way to our trio, and I continued to watch him, his eyes never leaving mine. I inhaled sharply when he reached Grace's side and bent his easily 6'2" frame to kiss her cheek. Oh no, he's not. Grace thumped his chest. Jack, sweetheart, where have you been? We've been holding dinner for you, she murmured, hugging him. Yes, he was. To my relief, his eyes moved to Grace, and he smiled at her. She beamed in the same way she did at Stephen.
Sorry, Mom.
I had to close a deal that took longer than I thought. Well, you're here finally, and I'm happy to see you. Jack, meet your brother's fiancée, Melinda Stanton. Jack's eyes returned to mine, and I swallowed hard. Slowly, I lifted my hand. Hello, Jack. Nice to finally meet you. Melinda, he murmured, gripping my hand and staring as he held it. You as well. I pulled away and cleared my throat. If you will excuse me, I'll go find Stephen. He's looking forward to seeing you, Jack. He nodded and offered, Thank you, Melinda. I quickly turned and practically ran to Stephen's bedroom. After a deep breath and a slow, long exhale, I knocked our code and waited. I promised to distract the crowd so that he could have some private time with Jonathan. A half-dressed Stephen opened the door, and the shower shut off soon after I entered the main area. I smirked. Feel better? With happy hazel green eyes, Stephen grinned and pulled on his shirt. If you were a male, I'd have Jonathan work his magic on you. You would never have to ask that question ever again. Gross, I murmured, rolling my eyes. Your brother's here, finally. Stephen chuckled. The prodigal makes an appearance. 20 minutes, he'll be gone again. What do you mean? I asked, reaching to knot his tie. Stephen lifted his chin. Jack's worse than Dad when it comes to work and always has been. I mean, the guy gets pissed when he's sleepy. He needs a wife who'll distract him sometimes. How do you know he's not gay? I know because when he's not working, he's with a woman. Jack has been a complete player since birth. Hit and run is his favorite game, just like Dad. Why would he run? I patted his tie when I finished and looked up at him, noticing both brothers had Grace's ash blonde hair, but I was sure that hers was now maintained at a salon. Because commitment scares him. He has zero respect for men who marry. Jack's been avoiding me, for the most part, since he was told about our engagement. Maybe you should tell him the truth. Stephen snorted, moving to put on his shoes. I've never asked him about his views on my lifestyle, and I refuse to be shut out of his life. My parents, I could deal with their loss, painful as it would be, but not his. The bathroom door opened and a fully dressed Jonathan emerged, looking every bit as satisfied as Stephen. Jonathan glared at me, and I raised a perfectly arched brow his way. Hag, he said in greeting. Nag, I nodded back. It warms my heart to see you two finally getting along, Stephen chuckled. Sod off, Jonathan and I declared together. Stephen laughed loudly at our new ritual. I giggled. You better go, John. Stephen and I need to make our entrance soon. Smiling, Jonathan kissed Stephen on the mouth and threatened, Don't make me come after you too. And toned down the affection. It makes me uncomfortable. You mean less of this? I asked, wrapping my arms around Stephen's neck, and he kissed me full on the mouth. Jonathan grunted, pretending to be angry. He finally got that Stephen was just a friend whom I'd always loved, and I wanted to help them in this way. To the outsider, I bet we looked like we were enjoying each other. I peeked open an eye. Jonathan's brown eyes danced as he ran a hand through his just as deep brown hair. Hey, that's enough, he chuckled, pulling at me. Pulling my arm, Jonathan announced, chuckling again. Come up for air, guys. You're going to be late for your party. He's right, a deep male voice agreed from the door. I turned. Green eyes were flashing at us, taking in the scene we were making. I turned back to Stephen, who was smiling big. Jack, he exclaimed with a grin, while moving to his brother, who embraced him while staring daggers at me. I frowned at the floor. Why did I deserve that expression? Stephen, how are you, buddy? Jack moved his eyes to me again and said, Scratch that. I see you're doing beyond well. To cover a blush, I held Jonathan's arm. How would you like to escort a lady downstairs? He smiled mischievously. I'd love to. Where is she? I smacked his chest and smiled toward the brothers. We'll give you two a minute to catch up, I murmured. Smiling, ever so sweetly, I told Stephen, Don't be long, sweetheart. He lingeringly kissed my temple. Be right there, doll, Stephen assured. Jonathan escorted me downstairs, just outside the doors, where we waited for Stephen. I looked around the garden, nodding to several guests, while trying to forget the look those hard green eyes of Jack's gave me in Stephen's room. Jonathan mumbled, Can you say awkward? Shaking my head, I sighed and caught his gaze. Jay, Stephen and I are best friends. Nothing more. I thought you finally understood that about us. The only thing I have over you is female plumbing, and Stephen's not interested in that from any woman. He will always be yours. Please believe that the embrace just now is nothing. The guy snorted. I wasn't talking about that fake kiss, doll. I frowned at him. What were you talking about, then? Seems someone has the hots for their fiancé's brother. I reddened. Do not, I mumbled, looking around for a waiter with a stiff drink. Oh, yeah, you do. And I think the feeling's mutual. I warmed inside. Shut up, I finally replied, and wondered why I suddenly sounded like I'd never made it past the 3rd grade. It could be perfect, him and you. Marry Stephen and get pregnant by his sexy, handsome brother. You could do a lot worse, Melinda. My mouth dropped in total shock. Are you suggesting that I sleep with Jack while married to Stephen? Did he bang your head on something while you two were at it just now? Cute. Jonathan snorted. Stephen told me about the toys, and I think it's completely unfair that he will be regularly satisfied while you'll have to continually rely on self-service. I'm just saying that maybe Jack is the solution to that problem. I leaned in, scowling. He's Stephen's brother. Even more perfect. If you were to get pregnant by Jack and the baby grows up looking like him, no one would question it, doll. And you won't have to prop up in front of a stranger who won't give you any pleasure for the 9 months of mess and labor you'll go through. That's it. You have completely lost your mind, I murmured, rapidly walking to one of the bars set up in the garden. Jonathan caught me and yanked me around to face him. I'm concerned about you and how you'll fare in this scenario, and from my vantage point, it does not look good, and I believe you know that too, doll. I'm not trying to stop the two of you from marrying, but look at what I'm pointing out. No intimacy for the rest of your life, except those phony kisses you guys give each other in an attempt to annoy me. Is that truly the life you want? Yes, it is. At least this way, going in with my eyes wide open, I won't get hurt. I wrenched free and stalked to the bar. You're lying, he called after me. How would you know? I looked at the bartender. Double bumpy rocking, please. The bartender looked at me like I had asked for a glass of bleach as he mumbled, I'm sorry, ma'am. Jonathan sighed. The lady wants a double gin with ice. Jonathan and I silently waited for my drink, and I downed it fast. Another.
Slow down, doll.
You haven't eaten yet. Sure thing, doctor. I downed the next drink a tiny bit slower, glaring at him. One more for the road. No, she's had enough, he declared, turning me away from the bar. Scowling, he walked me a few feet from it. Let me go, John. I need another. Jonathan stopped and stood in front of me. You need to talk to Stephen, the sooner the better.
Talk to me about what?
Stephen was standing behind Jonathan next to Jack, and all 3 men stared intently at me. I think I should skip this and go to bed. I haven't eaten, and I've downed a couple of bumpies, sweetie. I feel a little off. Jonathan sighed and shook his head. Of course, doll. I'll explain to Mom after I've walked you to your room. I'll walk her, Stephen. Both of you shouldn't disappear from your party, Jonathan murmured. The look on his face said he planned to do more than escort me. I had to nip his plans. No, I'll be fine on my own, I mumbled, walking away. 3 steps from them, I started to feel dizzy and swayed. Someone's arms wrapped around me, and after he lifted me, I was held firmly to his chest. I inhaled deeply and shivered. His scent tingled my nose, making me gasp. This was not Jonathan or Stephen. Opening my eyes, I made a wiggle movement. I'm fine, Jack. Please put me down. No, doll, let him take you, Stephen ordered, caressing my head. Just relax. You'll be in your room soon. I shut my eyes again when the dizziness returned. Before long, I'm lowered onto a bed, and a cold towel was placed on my forehead. I'll get her something light to eat. Make her sip some water, Jonathan's voice whispered. Come, Stephen. You should check on your guests.
Huh.
How is he going to get me water and check on the guests? I felt someone sit near my feet and open my eyes. Surprised is too mild a word to describe how I felt to see a scowling John Edward Carter glaring at me.
I pressed the button on the intercom without looking up from the contract I was going over for my brother's newest acquisition, a satellite radio station. Podcasting, he assured me, was going to be big, and he wanted to own space to be a provider as well as targeting music lovers with his own station. I couldn't care less. Being his or anyone's shark in negotiations always spurred me, and getting the station for him was hellfire, but I prevailed and saved my little brother a couple of $1 million. Until I forward my bill to the little shit. I've never loved anyone as much as I did him, and have since my parents brought him home when I was 6. Yes, Miss Towers? Mr. Carter, it's 7:30. You're late. Damn it. Scowling, I pressed the intercom button again. 5 minutes, Miss Towers. Sir, you've been saying that for an hour. Your mother has called twice, wondering where you are because you promised you'd arrive early. You need to get dressed and leave now. Fashionably late was 15 minutes ago, and is usually reserved for women. I shook my head and wondered why I told my bothersome mother that I would be there for cocktails with the family before her 150,000 guests started arriving. Fine. Have the limo brought around, please. If I have to go to this thing, I want to get extremely drunk, but I don't want to be arrested for anything, especially a DWI. Good night, Miss Towers. Silence. She still didn't trust me, and she shouldn't. I pressed the button again. Miss Towers? With all due respect, sir, I'll take my leave when you're dressed and the limo is driving off with you inside it. I smirked again. Great, Mom. I'll be out in 20 minutes. I heard a light chuckle as I made my way to my office's bathroom for a quick shower. As I dried, I thought of how stupid was my little brother. Marriage? I'd be dead before I tried that out. My mother was over the moon, of course. Name and influence mean a lot to Grace Elizabeth and her husband, gubernatorial hopeful John Edward Carter I, current state senator and lifelong playboy. He sort of has the right idea. Play around, yes. Putting a ring on it? Never. My brother is the ultimate when it comes to playing around. You never see him with a woman, but he's always walking around with that, "Yeah, buddy, I just got fucked right" look on his face. I hate playing poker with him. He's good at the game, but not as much as me. What bothers me is that his conversation is always about some woman he calls Jay and the amazing blowjobs she gives. If he wasn't my brother, I'd have her ass tracked down and test that out for myself. I will never be inside any woman my brother has been in, condom or not, and regardless of hole. I knotted my tie and checked my appearance in the mirror. Satisfied, I splashed on the cologne Miss Towers recommended. I washed my hands, wondering what the big deal was with that scent and my female companions who all say it does something to them. Apparently, it mixed well with my chemistry. Whatever. Just gimme what I need and say goodbye when I'm satisfied. I grabbed my wallet and keys and left the office. Miss Towers followed me onto my private elevator while passing me my personal cell and giving me a rundown of Monday's itinerary. I pressed the button for the ground floor, shoved my hands inside my pockets, stared at the numbers and listened. You have a meeting with the board at 9, that's expected to last a couple of hours. You have a lunch meeting at 12, an interview at 2:30 for your father with that silly political magazine, and a meeting with the head of personnel at 4. Why am I meeting with personnel now? It's time to review the sexual harassment policy in the employee package. Word is, they want you to approve an addendum to ban sexting at work. I slowly turned my head to her and deeply scowled. Now they want me to tell the employees what they can and cannot text on their cells? Miss Towers nodded. I believe so, sir, during working hours. I blew out a deep breath. Cancel everything for the week. Reschedule the board for the second week in August. Tell the magazine to send me the questions and I'll answer them at my convenience. Tell legal to deal with personnel and hash out whatever issue they may have. Send me the final draft before closing the next day. If asked, tell them I don't care who's texting what, as long as it doesn't interfere with what I'm paying that employee to do. And if it comes up, I still refuse to deny them their phones on the floor. Anything else? Oh, well, what is it, Miss Towers? She gave me a sigh. Howard Stanton has been persistently and rather annoyingly calling, sir. She passed me a piece of paper. It was a memo on that goofy pink paper she knows I abhor but refuse to stop using. I read the message and immediately recognized the number. He'd been calling my business cell also. Why is Stanton calling me? He wouldn't say exactly, sir. Just that he needs to speak to you soon about a concern between his daughter and Stephen. All right. I forgot Stephen was marrying his daughter. Margaret, Melanie, Melissa, Melinda, sir, Miss Towers corrected. I nodded, remembering. The elevator door opened. We exited and stood at the entrance. I'll call him from the limo. Thanks, Miss Towers. Enjoy your time off. I'll see you in a week from Monday. You'll see me at the wedding, sir. Your mother insisted I attend. I have no idea why unless she needs an extra hand or I have to play your +1 again. And Mother Grace strikes again? You don't have to attend, Miss Towers. I'll speak with my mother about this once more. I'd like to come, but not as your +1. It was weird the first time and awkward the last. Especially when I'm asked what I do for a living. You should see the looks when I admit I'm your secretary. I had to chuckle. I'm pretty sure most of the crowd walked around thinking, like father, like son. My father's extracurricular women are a well-known secret in our circle. Sarah Elaine Thornton Towers is a beautiful blonde who was only a few years older, but she'd never attempt anything with me, and I would fail miserably if I tried with her. She and I enjoyed a good professional relationship, one that I treasured because she is just as tenacious and hardworking as I am. Fine, Miss Towers. I'll see you at the wedding. Say hello to your wife. She raised a brow. And her name is? I grinned. Rose Ellen Thornton Towers. Miss Towers frowned. How is it you can remember her full name but not your future sister-in-law's first? I smiled at my watch. My secretary and I had an understanding. After office hours, we can speak freely in our conversations. Easily, Sarah. I can't picture Stephen's fiancée making love with you. I've met Rosie and I can see that vividly and in 1080p. I grinned, closing my eyes. Oh yeah, I can see it all. A smack hit my chest. Jack. Enough. Miss Towers laughed. The limo arrived in front of the building. Get out of here before I get Rosie here and give you a visual that'll make you drop from a heart attack at the sight. Promise? I laughed, walking off to the waiting limo and hearing her laugh. When the limo pulled off, I made that call. With a strong, stern tone, he answered, Howard Stanton. Jack Carter, I believe you've been trying to reach me. You're a hard one to pin down, Carter. I've wondered if you knew why your brother is refusing to sign Lindy's prenup. Is your family going broke? I scowled. Nowhere near it, Stanton. Stephen's reasoning for not signing the prenup is entirely his, so that is a conversation you should have with him and not me. I disagree. I know you're the family's lawyer and, as such, you are privy to Stephen's personal information, such as his finances. This refusal to sign does not look good, and I'm afraid I will have to rescind my blessings to this union if your brother doesn't sign the prenuptial agreement. Wonderful. This ought to make Mom and Dad happy. Fine. I'll speak to Stephen at the party tonight. Are you sure you'll be here? This party is almost an hour old. I'm en route as we speak and should be there in 20 minutes depending on traffic. Fine, Carter. I'll see you shortly, awaiting the results of the talk with your brother. I'll locate you as soon as I speak with him. I hit the end key and dropped my head back. Damn weddings and stupid prenups. Just wonderful. 37 minutes later, I walked through the crowd, seeking any member of my immediate family, while smiling and nodding, shaking hands, and briefly hugging several female guests who stopped me. I greeted them, thinking no fucking potential here tonight. I'd already been with most of those women, and despite the obvious wanting me again, I just don't do seconds. The others just wasn't worth my time and effort. I thought back and scowled. Last time I spent time with a woman was the evening of Mother's Day, also my birthday. A month ago. No, almost 2. I'd better do something about that soon or I may implode. Walking through, I believed I may have to go without the company of a woman, and none of these women warrant me changing my mind about repeats anytime soon. I decided I needed a drink. I finally spotted a bar, but my mother chatting with her best frenemy, my honorary Aunt Ellie, caught my eye. Those two have known one another for decades and never quit with the insults at one another, but cross one and see what the other does to you. Eleanor Benton Kennedy once ruined a woman's reputation and social standing because she wrote in a blog that the dress my mother wore to a society wedding should have been left on the dog mannequin where she found it. Mom loudly and rudely tossed out the mayor's brother from her birthday party because he'd made a pass at Eleanor. Recently widowed, Eleanor was not ready to relight her personal life, and my mother let the aggressive man know it. Remembering that entire scene made me chuckle. I hadn't seen that guy since, and that happened 4 years ago. And those two scenarios were mild compared to other things they'd done for one another. As I got closer to my mother, I noticed a beautiful woman in nude heels and a slinky, strapless dress the color of the summer sky. It made her stunning blue eyes pop off her face. Her brown hair flowed down her shoulders in soft curls that moved no matter how much or little the air stirred around her head. She smiled and extended her hand to Aunt Ellie. My breath caught and I scowled, turning away, wondering why this woman affected me in an amorous way. My mother rolled her eyes, and I immediately knew that she and Aunt Ellie had started the insults. The beautiful woman began to look uncomfortable, and I wanted to pull her away from what I was sure was silly bantering between the two old friends/enemies. The woman appeared as if she'd had enough of their silliness and was ready to bolt. I knew just where she could disappear to, and was ready to call the housekeeper to air out a room for us. This woman was going to relieve my drought tonight. Her head raised and she locked eyes with me. I believe my heart stopped. My brain was telling me I wanted this woman for much more than my usual routine. I shuddered at the notion. I couldn't break her gaze and she made no effort to look away. I had to find out who this woman was and everything about her. My mother was going to start by giving me her name. I eased toward the trio, still locked on this woman's gaze. I stopped at my mother's side and bent to kiss her cheek. Mom's arms embraced me tightly. "Jack, sweetheart. Where have you been? We've been holding dinner for you." I broke my gaze with the woman, smiled at my mother, and gave her a banal reason for my tardiness. My mother nodded with her reply and beamed at the beautiful woman. "Jack, meet your brother's fiancée, Melinda Stanton." I turned back to the woman and gave a polite smile while feeling like the ground just opened up and swallowed me whole. "Hello, Jack. Nice to finally meet you," Melinda purred, her voice making me all warm and flipping fuzzy. She extended her hand. Now I had to touch her. "Careful, Jack. Careful. Melinda. You as well." I take her hand. "Nice. God, who was I kidding? It's beyond wonderful." Too soon, Melinda took away her hand. "If you will excuse me, I'll go find Stephen. He's looking forward to seeing you tonight, Jack." "Thank you, Melinda," I murmured, watching her leave. "Just take your time greeting me, Jack. I'm just the only godmother you've ever had." "And Ellie." I smiled and kissed her cheek. "How are you?" "Wonderful, Jack, thank you. I was just telling your mother." I heard nothing else. My mind was too busy thinking of ways to kill my brother and praying that he would turn gay so that I could have Melinda to myself, if he hadn't been with her physically. It was hard for me to stay away, and I knew nothing but her name and how the woman radiated beauty. I wanted to hurt Stephen with my bare hands. He's my brother. I love him and I'd never hurt him. I sighed, believing my brother was a lucky goof, and turned my attention to my mother and Aunt Ellie. "Would you mind going, Jack dear? I swear your brother can primp for hours." "All right. He's in his old rooms?" My mother smiled. "Yes, dear. Hurry along, will you? And don't you disappear too." I took off toward the house, and once inside I stopped at the bar and had a shot of whiskey. After, I slowly climbed the stairs to my brother's rooms. His bedroom door was wide open, and his best friend was attempting to pry him and Melinda apart. They were kissing each other like they hadn't seen each other in weeks. Anger is too mild to describe what I felt. "You're going to be late to your own party," Jonathan chuckled, now pulling her arm. "He's right," I snapped, trying to control my ire. I glared at Melinda. It felt like she was cheating on me with my brother. "Jack," Stephen called with a grin. My brother and I didn't see each other enough now, which is a contrast from childhood because we were very close as kids, and we did everything together until I left for Stanford University. Stephen walked over and I hugged him tightly, still glaring at Melinda. I frowned when she looked at the floor like a scolded child. I released my brother and gave him my attention. "Stephen, how are you, buddy?" "Scratch that, I see you're doing beyond well," I told him, watching Melinda again. Oh wow, there was a blush that made her glow and look even more beautiful. Jonathan and Melinda left us, and I could have wrung his neck when Stephen's lips landed on her skin. "Took you long enough to get here, jerk," Stephen laughed. "Who are you ruining in the business world today?" I smirked. "No one, sap. I was polishing your contract because this afternoon I finalized your deal. You now own KB. Please tell me you're going to change the call letters." "I am." He smiled. "I'm thinking KMS for Melinda's initials. Melinda Iris Stanton. I really could have killed him then, but he is my brother and, I think, the only one I have." But I got a call from Melinda's father. Stephen froze as he put on his jacket. He turned and frowned at me. "About the prenup?" I nodded. "It's not my idea, Jack. Melinda doesn't want me to sign it, but she willingly signed yours." "Why would she do that?" He shrugged. "I guess because she trusts me." "Don't you trust her?" "Of course I do. I trust only one person more than her," he revealed with a smile. "I'm flattered. Still, despite what she says, sign it. No later than tomorrow. She doesn't need your money and you don't need hers. Also, consider how much influence her father has over her because Stanton promised he'll revoke his blessings on your union if you don't sign his prenup." Stephen scowled. "You wouldn't do that, would he?" "Maybe, but if I were you, I wouldn't test him. That is, if you truly want to marry Melinda." He paused a beat. Frowning, he walked over to the desk and opened his briefcase. After flipping through a packet rapidly, he bent down, wrote something, gathered the papers and handed them to me. "Done," he sighed. "You can witness it. Now there are no objections to my and Melinda's union." "No," I muttered, staring at the prenup. "I also signed." "Not a one. Congratulations." Thanks. Let's go, big brother. My fiancé awaits, Stephen happily stated, patting my arm. I inhaled, folded the prenup in half and stuffed it in my jacket pocket, all the while thinking of the scene in True Lies where Arnold Schwarzenegger, believing the guy with him was screwing his wife, elbowed the fool in a Corvette. I could have done the same thing in that moment. I followed my brother to the garden, half listening to him talk about going on his honeymoon to the Turks and Caicos Islands. My mind immediately went to Melinda in a bikini. Those thoughts had to stop. As soon as Stephen spotted Jonathan and Melinda talking near a bar, a megawatt grin spread across his face. In that moment, if I had a gun. We walked toward them and Stephen's steps became anxious. I noted that neither had noticed us moving their way. We stopped a little behind Jonathan and caught the end of what looked like a confrontation. You need to talk to Stephen, the sooner the better, Jonathan demanded, his voice full of concern. Stephen frowned. Talk to me about what? Melinda quieted, studying Stephen and me, then she gave Stephen a small smile. I haven't eaten and I just downed a couple of bumpies, sweetie. I feel a little funny. I think I should skip this and go to bed. I erected, wondering if she slept naked and what I could do to find that out. Of course, doll. I'll explain to Mom after I've walked you to your room. Jonathan moved next to her and held up a hand. I'll walk her, Stephen. Neither of you should disappear from your party, let alone both. No, I'll be fine on my own, Melinda murmured, looking around. She started to leave and a few feet away she swayed. I took a giant step and caught her before she fell. I lifted her, holding her tight, and instantly felt jealous that my brother would get to carry her like this on their wedding night. Maybe a bottle of poison. I shook off that thought. This is my brother's fiancée, damn it. I'm fine, Jack. Please put me down, Melinda insisted, squirming, her head against my chest. No, doll. Let him take you, my brother demanded, rubbing her head. Lucky bastard should allow me to take her permanently. I pulled her from his touch and hurried inside the house. I tried like hell to escape both the hangers-on, but those fuckers were hot on my tail. Stephen rushed ahead of me and opened the door to the guest room adjacent to his rooms. Perfect for a late-night tryst. Maybe a knife would do the trick. I needed to stop that thinking. Stephen would be dead, I'd be in jail, and then what? Would Jonathan marry her? No fucking way that was happening. Sighing, I lowered her to the bed and stood back as Jonathan placed a cold towel on her head. I'll get her something light to eat. Make her sip some water, Jonathan ordered at my side, giving me a glass. Come, Stephen. Go inform your mother and check on your guests. I watched them leave and poured water from the crystal carafe on the nightstand. Next, I sat on the bed close to her feet. Any closer, I may have attempted to make her forget she promised to share her life with my brother. Slowly, Melinda's eyes opened. I stared intently into those beautiful, deep blue circles. Is there something wrong, Jack? I don't know. Tell me, Melinda, are you trying to kill yourself a week before your wedding? A frown crossed her features. No, of course not. I just drank too fast and too much on an empty stomach. I'll be fine. Sure you will. How old are you, Melinda? Now, a hard eye roll. It's very rude to ask a lady her age. Humor me and answer, I said, giving her the glass of water. She sat up and adjusted the pillows behind her. After having several sips, she asked, how old are you, while glaring at me? 34. 27, she breathed. Same age as Stephen. Were you in school together or something? No, I attended UCLA. Stephen dated a classmate of mine during the summer after my junior year. That's how we met. So why are you just now getting together 6 years later? Melinda scowled. Why the third degree? Is there something bothering you about our union? Opening. Tell her. No, I was just wondering where you've been all this time. I've been in England after a brief trip to Mexico. I got married and it lasted 3 months. After the divorce, I visited my mother and grandparents. I was there until about a year ago. I stalled my return until I felt my wounds and pride were healed. Soon after I returned to the States, Stephen and I reconnected. I frowned. Some other fucker besides Stephen had her? And he let her go? Stupid idiot. Married? Yes, married. Do you find it odd that someone other than Stephen wanted to marry me? Or at least pretended to? Pretended to? What the hell did that mean? No, that's not it. Hell no, that's not it. Nowhere near it. Jesus. Didn't she have a clue how attractive she is? Then why these questions? Are you of the same opinion as John? That I'm not good enough for his son or his family? I smirked before I could help it. Not being good enough for Stephen or the Carter family was not my father's issue. No doubt that philanderer wanted her for himself. Melinda, I'm just curious about you. This is our first time meeting, and apart from your name and age, I know nothing about you. She fell silent, staring into my eyes. After a moment, she sighed and licked her lips. I twitched. What do you want to know? Why, Stephen? I queried before I could stop myself. She blinked at the question. I love him. I nodded, completely gutted. Smiling dully, I stood. That's all I needed to know, Melinda. I'll go see what's taking Jonathan so long with your tray. Please don't get up. I cleared my throat and looked away. I'm sure Stephen will help you undress when he returns. Yes, so am I, she smirked. I frowned. What was that for? Here you go, Melinda, Jonathan smiled, setting a tray of food over her lap. I walked to the door. I hope you feel better soon, Melinda. See you tomorrow. I didn't hear her response, and I didn't go back to the party right away. Instead, I called Miss Towers and instructed her to bring a week's worth of my clothes to my parents' house. Next, I locked myself in Mom's office and called a buddy of mine from Stanford. His voice was strong and menacing as he answered. Matthew Cannon. Matthew, it's Jack Carter. His tone changed immediately. Jack. Changed your number again, I see. How are you? I laughed. I'm good. Married yet? No. Still getting all the women I want, he amusingly quipped. Still the same toad from college. I don't see that changing anytime soon, he said, with a little edge in his voice. You don't sound so sure, Matthew. Well, there is this woman. Maybe I'll change for her or give it a long, hard thought at least. Good to know that I'm not the only one in the world who's suffering. Really? Yeah. She's Cramp's wife's best friend, Anne. I stopped him. Hold it, Matthew. Marcus got married? He laughed. Yes, he did, just last April. Same day his twin boys were born. What? Marcus Cannon married with twins. I think I just jumped into another universe. Well, tell me all about this girl you're crawling after, and then I want to hear about the superwoman who hooked Dr. Marcus. I ain't ever getting married or having kids. I don't care what anybody says, Cannon. Matthew laughed loudly, and I spent an hour listening to him talk about this Madison woman he was beyond in love with but had yet to admit it, and about his brother Marcus' wife, Mariah, whom I believe I met at their other brother's wedding last July. She was a beautiful woman who sang like a bird, and Marcus could not keep his lips off hers for long. They both sound like beautiful women. Congratulations to you and your brother. Don't congratulate me. Madison is not mine. Yet. If I know you, she will be soon. He laughed. To what do I owe this call, Mr. Carter? Well, Mr. Cannon, I need to hire you again. I want you to investigate my brother's fiancée. I need it done fast, though. They're getting married next Saturday, and I want to know everything about her well before she's in her wedding dress. You're kidding. Stephen's getting married? Was I wrong? Congratulate him for me, he boomed. While I throttle him, sure. I said instead, I will. So what's her name and age? Melinda Iris Stanton, 27. Melinda? Lindy? He's marrying Lindy? You know her? Yeah, I know her. Her father is a good client of mine. I'll be damned. I never thought she would get married again after that crap she went through with that trip. Oh, hang on. I'll pull it up. I heard rapid typing. Yeah, here it is. Benjamin Michael Kramer. Her cousin set them up and they married with a prenup. Lindy caught him with another woman, and I discovered he and the cousin planned the whole thing to get a handsome payout from the Stantons, but her lawyer got the marriage annulled. Fraud? Fraud, Matthew confirmed. Well, she told me it only lasted 3 months but didn't say why. That's why. I have to run, Jack. Do you need any more info on her? No, I think that's enough. I sighed. Bill me for your time, Matthew. This one's on me. Next time I'll charge you double. Thanks, I'll make sure to pay it from a closed account. Call me soon, we'll do something. Absolutely, he chuckled. I ended the call and thought about what he said. She married for love and he married for her money. Shaking my head, I went to the party and vowed right then that a gun, poison, or a knife wouldn't be enough for Stephen if he ever hurt Melinda because, after talking to Matthew, I realized that I was very close to being in love with that woman. And I didn't understand how. If you're enjoying this story, leave a book emoji in the comments. Have a suggestion for one of the characters? Positive or negative, I'd like to read it.
The afternoon after that pre-wedding celebration, I entered the study in my father's sprawling mansion, still flustered and filled with anxiety. He smiled when he noticed me, and my nerves eased some, as they usually did when I saw my daddy. Lindy, there you are. Are you all right? The Carters said you became ill at the party last night and were sleeping it off. I smiled and made myself a glass of club soda with ice, noting my dad had a glass of some dark liquor in front of him. Yes, father. I had too much alcohol on an empty stomach, but now I'm my old self, and I feel just fine. He frowned at me. What is it? Nothing. I'm fine, I promise. And I'm taking it easy with alcohol, hence the club soda. You called me father, Lindy. My eyes widened. Damn it. I never did that unless something was bothering me, and usually, I didn't know I had used the moniker until he informed me. I put a smile on my face and attempted to reassure him. I'm fine, Daddy. I'm finishing my cycle and feel a little sore. True, but not entirely. I was sore, but my cycle ended 10 days before. He cleared his throat and nervously looked away.
Men.
So I spoke with Jack Carter last night. Stephen finally signed the prenuptial. I couldn't be more pleased, sweetheart. Daddy, I told you it wasn't necessary. Stephen doesn't want or need your money. Yes, you did, and now I know that for certain. I can't wait to watch you get married on Saturday. Hopefully, this time I can get rid of you for more than 3 months. I giggled and sat next to him on the overstuffed sofa. You'll never be rid of me, and that's the way you like it. He kissed my cheek and smiled. I'm so glad you know that, honey. You'll always be my little girl. Daddy. So, I hear your mother is flying in soon. He always knew how to change the subject. I sighed with a nod. With Nanny and Granddad. Will you be all right? Last time you saw Mom, it was not pretty, and I don't want you two fighting, especially around her parents. I'll be fine, and am looking forward to seeing Raina and George again. Besides, our fight at your divorce hearing is old news. I promise it won't happen again. I swear I'm over that woman, and I believe you going to England was a good thing, despite me missing you so much. Dad grinned. Good news, honey. I'm getting married. I frowned. I didn't know you were seeing anyone. Who is she? The grin grew bigger. Marla. I screeched, your chef? Yes, Daddy confirmed. We love each other very much. She signed a prenuptial, and we're getting married when you return from your honeymoon. Small thing. Here at the house. It'll just be her and me, you and your husband, and her 2 boys. I stared at him for a minute. I was beyond shocked and a little dismayed. I had no idea. He looked happy, so I decided I would be, too. I gave my father a bright smile and hugged him tightly. Congratulations, Daddy. I hope you and Marla are always happy. Jack and I would love to attend your wedding. Daddy stiffened and moved back. He curiously stared into my eyes, and I tried to recall if called him father again.
What?
What's wrong, Daddy? Are you okay?
You said Jack, honey.
You said, Jack and I would love to attend your wedding. I swallowed hard, then shook my head. No, I didn't. You misunderstood. I chuckled and nervously sat on the couch near the window. Tell me more about Marla's sons.
How old are they?
How old is she? 45. 43. Her sons, Justin and Darvon, are 20 and 18, he informed, crossing his arms and glaring at me. She's still young. Any chance of me finally getting that little sister I've always wanted? You never know, you pretty little liar. Excuse me? Honey, Daddy called softly, sitting next to me. If you're having second thoughts about Stephen, it's okay. I won't suffer from the loss of money already spent. Don't make another mistake. Daddy, I had a fleeting attraction, and it's past. I guess it's because he's Stephen's brother, and they're very similar. I'm marrying Stephen, and we're going to make you plenty of grandchildren, I promise. Honey, I'm your father. You can tell me the truth. That is the truth, Daddy.
I cut off and sighed.
Will you just trust me? Unlike you did with me and Stephen's prenuptial. I can't believe you went to Jack about it after I told you it wasn't necessary. I can change a subject, too. I learned from the best. Oh, yes, it was. You loved and married Ben, and look what happened with that marriage. Thank God Cannon found Ms. Juarez. Getting that marriage annulled for fraud was a brilliant idea on her part, and I'm grateful we didn't have to pay the penalty amount in that prenup. Are you going to her wedding in September? I nodded. I owe her that at the very least. Stephen and I will be there. And about that prenuptial. I get it, Daddy. You're right, I need protection and that document will give it to me. Thank you for pushing the issue again. Glad you finally see that, honey. No one will ever love you as much as your father, and I'll always want to know that you're safe and protected. I smiled, knowing that is so true since I was settling for a gay man who could never love me like a husband should love his wife. At dinner 2 days later, Jack, Grace, John, Stephen, and I were sitting quietly at the table, enjoying the meal. Well, the others were. I somehow managed to sit next to Jack, inhaling his intoxicating scent, and completely lost my appetite. Jack noticed and asked, "Is there something wrong with your dinner, Melinda?" "No, of course not." I frowned. "Chicken Alfredo is one of my favorites." Grace smiled, lifting her wine glass. "I know, dear. Stephen told me. I had this prepared especially for you." I smiled, then cringed when John rolled his eyes. "Hated because of the man who fathered you. That made me feel lower than dirt. Unworthy. If this marriage were real, I'd have walked by now." "A favorite? Are you sure?" Jack chuckled. "You haven't touched it." I looked at my plate and frowned. It was definitely untouched. I picked up my fork, took a bite, and smiled at Jack as I chewed. "Better?" I asked softly. "Immensely," Jack replied, smiling too. "Glad you think so." I purred and had another bite. I looked up at him, and he was giving me the grin. I lost my appetite again. I couldn't handle him and that damn grin much longer. His scent. What the hell is that? Whatever it was driving me insane. And those jeans. It should be a crime to look that good in denim. Muscled thighs tightening under the fabric as he walked, sat. Any movement from him. Don't even get me started on that short-sleeved shirt that hugged his biceps, making me jealous. What is that material? Lucky is what it was. I couldn't understand why Grace scolded his attire when he sat next to me. Jack had some wine and asked, "Tell me, Stephen, where are you two planning to live after the wedding? Are you searching for a home?" "I'm moving into Melinda's home right after the honeymoon." Jack frowned. "After? You haven't moved in already?" "Of course not, Jack." "How would that look if he did?" Grace admonished. She lowered her voice and asked, "What if she became pregnant before the wedding?" Jack laughed. "Is her home the only place she can become pregnant? Does she only ovulate under her roof?" "That's not funny, Jack," Grace scolded.